I'm in this place where I just feel alone, isolated, lonely. I don't feel like anybody else in the family can even relate. I'm feeling at a place of limbo right now. I don't know what I need to do, is what I'm saying. I'm going to be doing something, but I don't know what it is that I need to do. You know, I wake up in the mornings and I turn the music on in my house so that I can have some noise.
Usually, our church would say you're divorced. You have to go ask for a divorce.
Yeah.
You have to get paperwork. You have to get approval. You have to prove that the marriage is broken. Christine just saying I'm divorced is sort of invalidating our beliefs. We're spiritually married to Kody by our church. If we want a divorce, then we have to go get their approval.
Hey friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, December 13th, 2024. Ooh, it is Freaky Friday. It is Friday the 13th. Okay, Meri Brown has been on a campaign. She's doing publicity for the Sister Wives show. We've already seen interviews with Janelle and Christine, which some were done together, some were done separately. And now we are hearing from Meri. And she has sat down with numerous outlets to share what's going on in her life. But a specific interview that she did with People magazine struck me because it goes into her rationalization for getting a release from Kody. Some people that have watched the show have struggled to understand why Meri would go to the church and ask for a release even though she was not a part of the faith. Additionally, the family had not been a part of the church for many years. When Christine had left, and in season 17, she was guilted by Robin and Kody to seek a release. And in fact, Robin and Kody were unwilling to accept the fact that Christine acknowledged that she was divorced. Christine made a decision that she was divorced from Kody without going through the church. And because Christine and Kody never had a legal marriage of any kind, she didn't feel it was necessary to do anything with the church. Christine made clear that she did not believe in the faith at all. She didn't believe in the LDS faith, the Joseph Smith faith. And so going to a church which had no authority over her, she said felt like an unnecessary step for her to move on. Robin said that because of their faith, they were all sealed to Kody in a temple, which they do the marriages in Bluffdale at the endowment house in the AUB that the AUB has at their church location, and they seal them for time and all eternity. And so they're sealed in a marriage covenant, and all of the wives are there with Kody when this is done. And because polygamy is illegal in all 50 states and federally, this is the only way that the women are held in a marriage with a man that they actually are not married to. It's a spiritual hold that's placed on them where they're told that this is their pick from God, it's their destiny. And that's, for those that are devout, more important to them than the legal marriage. Now, when you don't believe in it and that's not your faith anymore, it's easier to dismiss it, right? So Christine doesn't have to do it because she doesn't believe in it. She doesn't believe in this quote unquote eternity that she was placed in with the family. Naturally, when Meri decided to leave, it was different than Christine. Christine doesn't get the release. Kody and Robin are mad that she doesn't get the release. And then Meri goes and gets a release. And Robin didn't have a lot to say about it, but Kody was sort of offended by this concept that she was going to get a release because they don't believe in the faith. It's very hypocritical. Given Kody's changing position on whether or not releases are necessary, Meri didn't care what his position was. She was going to move forward with this decision, regardless of what Kody wanted. Here's what Meri told People. It was important to do because I needed to terminate the marriage on every level. I know Christine didn't feel like it was important. I've heard Kody say he didn't know why I needed to do it. He's told me, he's like, well, why do you need to do that? I'm like, well, because we've been married that way this whole time. If that wasn't valid, then what were you doing with all these women all these years? So don't tell me that wasn't valid because at one point in time, you believed that it was. I felt that it was, for me, it was important to do it to break all ties completely. So that's why I went through the process, regardless of the fact that I'm not a part of the church and neither is he. I still felt like that was the process that we went through to get married and that I needed to be broken and terminated that way. That was just important for me. The crux of the issue here about this situation is that when it comes to men in this religion and in this faith, they use this concept of the spiritual religion to justify adultery. If this were not some sort of religious doctrine that was written by Joseph Smith, a doctrine that was written after he was found to be unfaithful to his wife, Emma, and a way to sort of justify his infidelity of her. That's my opinion. And many scholars that have looked at this faith and debunked a lot of Joseph's claims in his books and have reviewed the Book of Mormon, they all kind of come to that conclusion. Like Joseph just came up with this when he needed a reason. And then when he came up with this concept of polygamy, he also came up with a concept that would keep women trapped. And that concept was eternal salvation, eternal heaven with a celestial kingdom altogether. And so, in order for women to choose to be married to a man that already has other wives, he added this concept that women, if they did this, could become sealed for eternity and then be with their entire families upon their death. This is a concept about heaven and about the afterlife that is unique to the Mormon faith. And then he also provided this concept of becoming a god or a goddess in heaven. And Kody has said that without the promise of eternity, without the promise of being all together after they die, many women would not do this. There was also a threat in there that if they did not do this, it would be eternal damnation and they would be going to hell. So it's hard for a woman to have a choice because it's either you're going to choose hell or you're going to choose eternity. And if that is their belief, it would be hard for a woman to just throw out the beliefs and then just do something else, because you have to consider all of this happened in the 1800s. There was not as many rights for women, and most of the people in the United States, whether they were in no matter where they were located, were people that had faith. And this concept of just throwing out faith and becoming an atheist or deconstructing wasn't even something really people did back then. And Kody says women would never do polygamy without that tenet, which is part of the Doctrine and Covenants 132. So Meri's belief here is that, well, that if you don't believe this anymore and you didn't believe this ever, then why did I allow you to have all these women? What I've gathered from the way that each one of them have left is that certain women that have been with Kody have had different feelings overwhelmingly about their faith. Some of them have been very devout. Christine was someone that was very religious and very much wanted to keep the family in line and held to their faith. Meri was also someone that was very devout. Kody, who claimed to be devout, when you actually view him from the lens of, I don't know, the totality of the individuals of this family, I would not have classified him as devout as, say, Christine or Meri or even Robin. Kody did this podcast last year, and he said because of the way that Mormonism is designed and the way that polygamy is introduced, it would certainly invite men who wanted to have more than one wives to adopt the faith, whether or not they actually believe in it. And they can hide behind this faith that they get to have as many wives as they want, because in the faith, it says the woman has to do this or else they go to hell. So it automatically invites men that are not good people to want to do this if they don't truly believe. My sense with Kody, and I don't know him, but seeing how competitive he is and how much he wants to be like the number one and the most awesome, and I'm the best of everything and nobody's better than me. Maybe he chose polygamy because he saw his dad doing it and he saw his dad acquire wives and he thought, well, if you're going to do it, I can too. And if you're going to do it, maybe I'm going to do it better than you. You know, he had a very tenuous relationship with his father. And if his father was someone that he felt like he could never be good enough to, trying to do better and achieve more than his father could be a way to say, see, screw you, dad. I'm not the screw up you thought I was. That's one theory. Another theory is that Kody believed, but also wanted to be a womanizer. Another theory is he honestly was just brainwashed. This faith system, because of the way that the men are and how frequently they are of those that are in leadership, it's hard for me to say that there are men in here that do it for faith. I know that there are, but I feel like over and over and over again, the examples that I've seen, it's men that are just using the system to abuse women and cheat on their wives. And if you are a man that's a narcissist, which is another, I think, attraction that they would have to this faith, is that they are told they get to be gods and then they get to have this harem of women that worship them and then can't talk back to them. And then for the poor women that get stuck into it, they have to be doing this because of faith. There's really no other reason. They don't get the benefits that the husband gets. They don't get to sleep around. They don't get to have their needs met. They don't get to have an equal partner. They don't get to have multiple partners. They have to share their husband with other women and the resources with other women, his time, his money, his unit. They have to watch him have children with other women. So Meri had to have been of faith to make this choice. Kody, it's debatable, because if Kody can so easily throw out his faith like this, did he ever believe to begin with? I've seen a lot of people in comments make statements like, well, it was all for faith when it served him. And now that he can decide so flippantly that this is not what he believes and he's not doing this anymore, then he's a hypocrite that never believed to begin with. And seeing how Kody has thrown everything out so brazenly and been so awful to these women, I kind of agree with those commenters. If he really, really believed this, there's no way he could abandon it. If he truly believed the scripture that he says that is what his foundation of life was built on, there's no way he could just throw it out and act like it didn't matter. And then how could he say that Christine needs to get a release, but Meri doesn't? Because now he doesn't believe? So when it serves him, he doesn't believe, but then when it's convenient for him, he does believe. The fact that he can change and vacillate so dramatically tells me that he is an imposter that's doing this for the sake of complete control and manipulation of women for the purpose of sex. And so I understand where Meri's coming from, because I'm assuming that if that's how Kody is, it would be hard for her to come to the point where she's like, oh my God, I was duped. There is so much shame that happens when you have been conned. And it's actually too bad, because when you're conned, it's almost like people want to automatically blame the victim. And it's not something that happens in every crime, because a lot of people that view people that get conned and they say, how could they be so stupid? But maybe it's, how could the perpetrator be so smart? And why would the perpetrator do this? So instead of Meri feeling like she was conned and having to feel shame, what I think she should feel is, how could Kody be such a bastard? I recognize that this was a decision she had to make and it probably wasn't easy, but I get a better understanding of why she had to do it, because it's hard to admit that you have been deceived. And it's worse to have to admit that the person that deceived you was the person that was the closest to you. And she might get there in time. We don't know. But I thought this was a very insightful take by Meri. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. I want to get a push to get to 395,000 today. Can you do it? Are there 400 of you that have not subscribed yet that would like to subscribe? Make sure to click the subscribe button on the way out. And also, thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.